Yo people, welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about John Kreese. Do you think he's making it to part 3? If he does, will he die by the end of the show? Will he get redeemed? Is he worthy of being redeemed? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Also, if you could drop a like on the video and sub to the channel, that would be massively appreciated as we are on the road to 800 subscribers. Now, after part 1 of Cobra Kai came out, I didn't think Kreese was gonna die, but the closer and closer we get to part 2, I just get this feeling that he actually may die. There's a lot of people that think he's irredeemable, which I don't agree with, although I do understand why people would say that. The one thing that would make him irredeemable for me at this point is if he was involved in killing Tori's mum, but I don't think he was. So if we just think about his character long term, how could his story end if Kreese was to survive until the end? What can you do with this character, because he's a wanted man in America, the homeland of the franchise, so he'd be constantly on the move if he went back. He won't be wanted in Korea when Korean Cobra Kai doesn't win the Sekai Tekai, so that's useless. So unless he stays in Barcelona or in Europe, or he moves somewhere else, never to be seen again, I don't actually think there's any point to this character, and it's quite a safe and bland outcome. What I do think is more likely is if he dies in part 2 or 3, I think he will be redeemed before he dies, because the show made sure to show all of us those flashbacks of Kreese. They kind of wanted us to feel sorry for him and know that he was a good guy at the beginning before we knew him as this no mercy guy, and there is still good in him. I think those were the main points of the flashbacks, as well as obviously telling a story. We found out that his mum died from suicide, he would get bullied, he had a tough life growing up, then the trauma from all the army stuff, and the birth of the strict mentality, also his girlfriend and his baby dying along the way, allegedly. All of this is a lot to take in and is what made Kreese what he is. But even in the present day, we have seen him go soft and have these kind of nice moments, whether it's looking out for Tori. He's always had a soft spot for Johnny ultimately, regardless of what's happened. And I think that he still has that soft spot, even though we've seen that cave scene in part 1 where he just killed Johnny. I think when push comes to shove, he will look out for Johnny. Now, if Kreese was to die, there's only 2 main culprits in my opinion. And number 1 is Sensei Kim. And I think it would be out of desperation, because let's say Cobra Kai's been eliminated from the tournament. She doesn't want to return home looking like a loser to her grandfather. So I think she may kill Kreese, blame their loss on him to her grandfather, and then say, oh well, at least I killed him because he was weak and he led us to failure, blah blah blah, all of that stuff, and kind of deflect the attention off of her onto him. I think this incident would also serve as a major betrayal in the story as well. We saw that in the flashbacks, Kreese was the one who actually had a big connection with Kim compared to someone like Terry Silver, all the way since her childhood. If anything, Kreese was the reason that she even got to do karate. I could see this incident being more of a sneak attack type of thing, like if Kim took the Cobra Kai knife without Kreese knowing, they're speaking or something, it's just them two, and then she suddenly just stabs him, and then Johnny finds the body as he bleeds out, something like that. The second culprit is the obvious one. It's Terry Silver, which I think is the most likely to happen if Terry just catches Kreese lacking and they start having a fight until the death, which to be honest, I think Terry would actually win in this one-on-one. But who knows? What if Terry attacks Daniel or Johnny, and this fits perfectly with the redemption, because what if Kreese protects Daniel or Johnny from Terry Silver, he takes the bullet for one of them, and if it was for Daniel, in terms of the story, this would work perfectly, especially for the relationship between Daniel and Kreese. If Kreese took the bullet for Daniel, this would actually let Daniel look at Kreese with honor for once in his life. It would also allow Daniel to give Johnny his blessing to reopen Cobra Kai, which I think Johnny will do by the end of this show. And for Johnny, it would allow him to have one emotional goodbye with Kreese. It would be a redemption moment. Maybe Kreese even tells Johnny that Johnny has always embodied what Cobra Kai was truly about, or he asks him to take over Cobra Kai, doing it his own way from the way that Johnny was doing it in season 1, which makes Johnny want to reopen Cobra Kai. Like I said, we saw Stingray foreshadow it in part 1. I can even imagine the dojo that they reopen have some of Kreese's pictures, but instead of it being random like we saw in Karate Kid 3, this time Johnny has set it up as a sort of tribute for Kreese. This death also works for Terry Silver because it allows him to fully get rid of his quote-unquote weakness, and it sets the scene for a very doom and gloom moment in the season in part 2 or part 3 for the rest of the characters, as well as having an emotional twist for the characters and for the audience, because Kreese would have died to the monster that he created. And with this ending for Kreese, even if you hate his character or you hate him as a person, you just have to respect the sacrifice, especially if he did it for Daniel. But yeah, what do you think will happen to Kreese's character? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Any predictions you may have as well in general, let me know. Drop a like on the video, sub to the channel if you haven't already, I'd massively appreciate it. Thank you for your time and have a great rest of your day.